And we're going to start with the first of the 3 levers that you can pull to be your best when it matters most. And this is pressure management. Let's go. Okay, we know this guy, right? Gordon Gekko. And in the movie or film, whatever you want to call it, Wall Street, he had a great quote. And the quote was, "Pressure is good. Pressure makes you alert. Pressure gets you to focus. And pressure leads to your best work." But at the same time, it can also be a double-edged sword. So in this part, we're going to talk about how pressure can be your best friend, how pressure can be your worst enemy, and how to shift it from your worst enemy to your best friend. Now, one quick question, slide number 4 of the workbook, and in the chat, please. When it comes to pressure right now, is pressure A, your friend, B, your enemy, or C, a bit of both, depending on the situation? Plus, where would you like to be at the end of the workshop? So I would very much appreciate a B, or C answer. Yeah, a C for most people, an A for Jan Erik. Good, thanks. Good. Okay, here we go. Now I want to induce, and this is also why I explained flow. That will become clear now why I started with flow. I will start this part by explaining the golden rule of flow and the most important flow trigger. And this one is called the challenge skills balance, or the golden rule of flow. Now have a look at this chart. You have your skill set on the x-axis and your challenge on the y-axis. If you're all the way at the bottom right, your skill set is high and you're very good at something, and your challenge is low. So then it's easy. And when things are easy, you don't need full attention to get the job done. And therefore, because there's no full focus, you will not be able to drop into flow. And actually, the task may be quite boring and easy. On the other hand, let's say if you're on the left, on the top left, the challenge is high, but your skill set is low. Now this is overwhelming and you won't be able to get it done. You'll be anxious and you have too much stress chemicals in your body to drop into flow. So you enter into flow when the challenge is at the very edge of your current skill set. That's when you drop into flow, where it stretches you, but it doesn't overwhelm you. It's where you need all your attention, all your focus, and full concentration to do it. That's when you hit flow. If something's too easy, you get bored and you don't need full focus. If something's too hard, you get anxious and your mind starts to think about the consequences instead of the task. And flow sits right in between in this flow channel. Now, there are 2 sides to this. The first one is technical. Can you actually do this? Do you have the skill set to do it? But the second one is mental. Do you feel safe enough to focus? Quick example, Alex Honnold, who's climbing El Capitan without any ropes. He's got technical skills and he feels safe. Now, there are lots of other climbers who also climb El Capitan, but they do it with ropes. Why? Because they don't feel safe enough to do it without. So if they would do it without, they would get too scared and would actually fall down and they would die. So because you're technically capable of it, but if you're worried about the consequences, you will not be present. Your attention shifts away from the task and flow becomes impossible. And that is why pressure management is so critical. That's why we come to this later. But for now, understand this. Busy periods like earnings season or end of a project often create the perfect conditions for flow. High challenge, high demand, and the need for focus. Which means that these periods are not just stressful, they're your biggest opportunities to perform at your best. Okay, when the pressure is high, two things you need to understand. Two things can happen. One, you can get anxious, which will impair your energy and performance, or you can drop into flow. Now, if we're getting anxious, there's something we need. And what we need is we need a state change. Now, how do we get a state change? That's by pressure management. And what we need for pressure management? We need two things. We need to understand the key principle, and secondly, we need to understand the key tools at our disposal. And I now will take you through the key principle first and then discuss a few tools. Let's go. Okay, the core principle is the following. The breath rules the body, and the body rules the mind. Which means this: you cannot think your way out of an anxious state. You have to change your physiology first. Now, when the breath slows, your body calms. And when your body calms, your mind can follow. So let's look at a few of these tools. First about the breath, then about the body, then about the mind. That's the key to pressure management. And this is how you go from an over-aroused state, an anxious state, into a calm state where you can drop into flow. So here we go. As I said, the fastest way for a state change is through the breath. And you have two options here. The first one is the physiological sigh. And the physiological sigh is a double inhale followed by a long exhale. Now, first, let me start by two things that are key for the breath to calm down. The first principle is the exhale needs to be longer than the inhale. This is a signal to the system that it's safe, and therefore your stress chemicals will leave your body and adrenaline will immediately be reduced. And the second principle is that in breathing in, you want to move your belly forward rather than your diaphragm up. If you put your diaphragm up, adrenaline will be released. And you want to get less adrenaline in your system. So first, let me start with the physiological sigh. So that's a deep breath in through the nose. And at the very end, you take another sip of air in and then a long exhale through the mouth. So let me show that to you. So it's deep in, sip at the end, and then a long exhale through the mouth. And already feel calmer after one. If you do it 3 times, you'll be completely calm. The second one is called the 4-7-8 breathing technique, where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and you exhale for 8. So again, you see 4 in, 8 out. That means your exhale is much longer. Okay, let me show you once. Okay, so initially my idea was to do one together, but I'll trust you that you understand how these work. And again, when you're live on this call, you can request the replay and then you can see it and try it for yourself. Or you can look on YouTube, Physiological Sigh, Andrew Huberman, or 4-7-8, and you can start practicing yourself. And I have a present at the end, by the way, where I can help you go over this. But those are the two breaths you can use to immediately calm yourself down. Once you've done that, you can go to the body. And in the body, what we want to do here is we want to induce a so-called relaxation response. Now, there are ways to induce a relaxation response. There are passive ones and there are active ones. Let me start with the passive ones and mention them. TM, Transcendental Meditation. This is mantra meditation. Very good academic research, also out of Harvard, who basically were the ones who found the relaxation response. Out of Harvard, a transcendental meditation. I'm doing this. It's really good. The most important one, if there's one thing you want to remember from this whole call, or if there are two things, and one is the physiological sigh breathing, the second one is Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra are very deeply relaxing, guided body scan meditations. You can find them on YouTube, Cheap Soy Karaoke, or the Mindfulness Movement. They've got some wonderful Yoga Nidra meditations. They're unbelievably good. And the third one is gratitude meditation. So on the left, you see here me doing a Yoga Nidra, and on the right, this is a TM meditation, or normally my head falls down when I do a TM. But anyway, so those are the passive protocols. But now I want to go to the active protocols. And let me first explain the mechanics behind inducing a relaxation response through an active protocol. So we'll first do something together, and then I'll explain. So when I mention a certain muscle or part of your body, I want you to tighten it, to put all the tension into that body until I say stop. Okay? So ready. Okay, so squeeze your feet, your lower leg, your calves, your upper leg, squeeze them. Squeeze your abs, squeeze your back, squeeze your chest and your shoulders, your hands, squeeze your hands, your neck, your jaw. Okay, your head, squeeze it, hold, let go, and close your eyes. And if you just squeeze, you'll feel the relaxation come over you. Now, this is the relaxation response. So what you do to induce this is you put a little bit of strain on your body. So basically, temporarily, you increase the pressure, so you can relax more after that. And there are a few ways you can induce a relaxation response. So the one we just did, so tightening every muscle in your body and then letting go, holding and then letting go. But other ones, for example, are walking, preferably in nature, definitely outside, and definitely not with your phone present. Other ones are stretching or yoga. In yoga poses, you stretch out your body, which puts a mild stress in your body, and afterwards you get a relaxation response. That's why you feel so good after yoga. Cold exposure, like cold showers or ice bath, really good active protocols. But there's also warm exposure, like sunshine exposure or sauna. Tomo breathing, like Wim Hof breathing, or mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is a hybrid between a passive and an active. You still have to focus, so it's not a total relaxation. It's a hybrid. Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the breathing techniques and some of the passive and active protocols, I want to know from you, which ones do you want to try out? And please leave a comment in the chat. Which ones do you like to try out? It's going to be 478. It's going to be physiological sigh. Is it going to be one of the meditations? Maybe walking, stretching. I'm very curious to see who's going to write down ice bath or cold exposure. I probably know one person, by the way, but this person is not allowed to answer ice bath because he's already doing that. So that's new. That's not new. So who wants to share? Walking, good. Very good. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit. So now we've calmed the breath, we calmed the body, we now want to calm the mind. So once your body starts to settle, your mind will follow. And in this state, your intrusive thoughts will subside. And if they don't, you can work with them. Because when you're calm enough, you become rational again. and you can challenge thoughts by going through a series of questions that are also in the workbook, but I'm going to talk you through that now. So let's say a thought comes in, something you used to worry about. The first question you're going to ask yourself is, what is my worst case? And how likely is this scenario is going to play out? The second question is, what is the most logical and most likely outcome? With question number 1 and number 2 combined, you should have a little bit more perspective. And question number 3 is, now if the worst would happen, if it would materialize, what would you do? And what would be the most likely outcome of this? Question 4, are you comfortable with this outcome? If yes, then you're done. If you're not comfortable with it, you go back to question number 3. So if this would happen, what would you do then? And again, would you be comfortable with that? Yes, you're done. No, you go back here until you end up here. Okay? So please note, only work with these questions when your body and mind are truly calm. Otherwise, if you're still agitated, if you're still anxious, you will only further trigger the fight or flight response. You will get anxious and you will not be able to find the answers you're looking for, and you'll get into a downward spiral. So there's a disclaimer to this exercise. Okay, so let's make it a little bit more practical. So let's say you're in the office and suddenly you feel overwhelmed, but you've been embarrassed to lie down on the floor, in the middle of the floor, and do a yoga nidra or make noise of the physiological sigh, and you can't afford to go outside to take a walk for 30 minutes. What can you do then? Very simple. You go to the gents or the ladies. Now don't go into the wrong one, because then your state will get even worse. So you go in, you sit down on the toilet, you close your eyes, and you do a short meditation. Take a few minutes for example, mindfulness or TM meditation. What you could do is you could do 10 minutes of daily calm or 5 minutes of semi-guided headspace. They're very good, by the way. And when you start this meditation, you start with 3 to 5 physiological sigh breathings and then do a gentle body scan. Okay. So these are very good apps, Daily Calm and Headspace. So my wife took this picture and asked me what I wanted to use it for. And she told me, please don't put this in there. You would look stupid. Now, normally I listen to my wife, but I didn't do it this time. Okay, let me tell you what else helps to make it even better and even more powerful and stronger. While sitting, lean against the wall. Press your shoulder blades against the wall. And now imagine your parents and grandparents standing behind you, supporting you. Imagine the right hand of your father on your right shoulder and the left hand of your mother on your left shoulder. And imagine your system standing behind you. And softly whisper, I'm safe. I'm okay. I've got this. No doubt you feel calm in a matter of minutes and ready to go back into flow and be at your best now that it matters most.